Direct from Foxborough, Massachusetts, the gem of Norfolk County, and taped at the studios of Foxborough Cable Access. It's Foxborough Central, and here's your host, Bob Hickey.
And welcome to another fantastic episode of Foxborough Central. I am Bob Hickey, your host, and I want to thank you for taking the time to join with me and my guests as we talk about the people, events, and organizations that make Foxborough truly the gem of Norfolk County. Now, I am here with two gentlemen who do things that are far beyond my capabilities. So I'm going to be learning right along with you about this fine company. It's called Tinker and Crate. Tinker and Crate, and they do online gaming, but it's gaming with a cause, with a purpose. And so I'm very honored to be joined by the co-founders, shall we say? Is that the best way?
Yeah, that's probably the best way to say it. Yeah.
Great, Doug Tepe.
Doug Tepe.
Tepe, thank you very much. And Ite.
Thank you.
Armand, thank you so much. All right, Ite and Doug, thank you so much for taking the time to come out to Foxborough Central to share. And let's start with, what am I looking at? What are we doing?
Well, so we are an organization. We're just two fathers who are from Sharon, and we took a look at what our daughters were doing in the school, and our daughters, of course, became fast friends. And we realized that there was kind of a need for actual STEM-related education.
STEM stands for?
STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. And so it was Itai's brainchild, and so he came up with the idea of seeing if we can get as many smart people together to create an educational system that can be in after-school programs at local YMCAs, parishes, and all sorts of institutions that might be interested in learning. And one of the classes that we teach, that we have featured up here on the big screen, is a class on digital game design or video games, which we teach using the Unreal game engine, which some of your viewers might actually be aware of, because Unreal has become rather large in recent months due to the popularity of a game called Fortnite. And so young kids, yes. Exactly, young kids, particularly in the middle school range, are just absolutely crazy about Fortnite. And interesting enough, of course, we didn't actually start out trying to teach the class because of Fortnite. Fortnite actually didn't exist when we started teaching the class.
So the class that we're talking about, and you mentioned before that you started teaching in Foxborough at the YMCA?
Foxborough YMCA. That was our first course. First courses started there. The first 8, actually.
Okay.
The first one was aquaponics, and we ran
what?
Aquaponics.
Okay, let me just look up my dictionary. Or why don't you just tell me what that means?
Okay, let's do a shortcut. And so aquaponics, you have the tank on the bottom, and you have beds on the top. And you have fish in the tanks, and then you have water being pumped into the beds. It floods the beds, and it's a symbiotic relationship between the fish and the herbs or plants, whatever you have there.
And strawberries sometimes too.
And that's actually what we did for Foxborough. In Foxborough, we used strawberries, and they looked great. They did well. The nutrients came from the fish. Their byproduct became nutrients for the fish, and then the plants filtered the water for the fish.
Interesting. Yeah. So I've heard of that, and I've seen the YouTube videos, but you actually put it into practice here. I didn't realize there were fish involved, so I've learned something new. Thank you very much. You did this with the YMCA here?
YMCA, it was about, I think, the class was about 10 courses. We started with 10. We've decided to taper it down to 6, or reduce it to 6 hours instead of 10, because there were conflicts initially. We learned that, somebody would come in September.
Well, time is always a variable that you can't sometimes get charged on. So you mentioned that you did your first 8 courses here in Foxborough. So are they all aquaponics, or?
No. So that was one of them. 3D printing is another. And then we had, what else? Digital game design.
Digital comic book design. Yeah.
Web design.
Okay.
And one app design. And
this was all done at our own Hockomock YMCA here at the...
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, this is a big shout out to everybody that we have hidden resources here in Foxborough that some of us don't even know about, myself included. So Patrick Murphy kept that under his hat when we had him on a previous program. But clearly, this is a cool way of addressing STEM curriculum, but in a fun way. And it's not through the schools.
Right.
Exactly.
So you have a company that's called Tinker and Create. And you started it when, and what is the
It
purpose?
was May, I think our first classes were in the Foxborough Y were May of last year.
Okay, May of 2017.
2017.
So this is a relatively new venture.
Yeah.
And it's taking off.
Yeah, we're getting traction. We've been in 11 towns so far. Foxborough is the first
That's good
one.
traction.
And so it's not bad. We're getting repeat business.
You've only been in business a year and you're already in 11
Well, the students
towns.
get very excited too. They just love learning all about all the different topics, and it's just great to see the students come up with all their ideas, whether it's about aquaponics or even video game design. They get so engaged with what they do. It's just it's a real treasure just to even share with them what we know as well.
Now, I know you brought some files and you're going to have some things to show us, and I love the line up there. And anybody who knows me, that's my space. But I'm going to do a shout out to the company right now. This is Tinker and Create. Tinker and Create is a STEM teaching curriculum. I suppose that's the best way of saying it.
Yeah, and we actually can integrate everything in what we're teaching. And so, in aquaponics, of course, there's biology and principles of 3D printing. They use it to create the pumps. They teach the students about,
You
physics.
created the pumps out of 3D printers.
Well, they didn't actually do it, but they learned how they could do it because actually a lot of aquaponics labs actually have often very elaborate pumps that are often 3D printed just with these very complicated little plastic bits that are all very carefully shaped using 3D printing. And of course, a lot of that same 3D printing uses the same principles as 3D modeling and design, such as what happens in video games. So in the case of a video game, for example, these fine lions that we have here, you could actually take the model of these lions, they call it a mesh. It's a fancy way of just referring to the shape, and you can actually output it into a 3D printer and for the most part get the exact shape of the lion. Maybe not all the full details, but it would actually work in a 3D printer, and then you could even have a little plastic lion toy or whatever the case may be.
Wow.
So everything that they learn is actually can be stretched across from many different disciplines. So whether they're in the comic book design, for example, they'll still be learning a lot of principles of 3D modeling and the like. And whether we're talking about a video game here, they'd be learning ideas of physics. For example, the game actually does have different properties to make it appear like a real world. So I can talk with the students about jumping and gravity and the like, and how that necessarily affects their whole gameplay.
How interesting.
And so the whole Unreal game engine, it's got a great advantage because it has all this stuff already built in. And so rather than trying to teach the students how to invent the wheel right from the beginning, I can actually
the clouds moving.
I can go straight into a discussion about weather patterns and a discussion about physics and motion and mass and other things, as well as, of course, the fun parts, which is why a lot of the students are interested in it, the actual gameplay elements. And as you see in the upper corner here, it says "Find the treasure." So this is actually a scavenger hunt game, and we use this to show off at the Hockomock YMCA whenever we're trying to get people interested in it. And so people will come by and they'll go and explore, and they'll see if they can find the treasure. And it's a lot of these little spheres that I placed all around.
Okay.
And as the students can learn in this class, this is actually going to be the same things that they would actually end up learning in the class. So they can learn about meshes and modeling. They can learn about computer programming. So the computer actually does the counting and everything for the treasures and the like. And then they can use it to tell their story.
Okay. Very interesting. And I'm excited. We have a condensed amount of time, so we're going to try to get to as much as we can. But right now, I need to talk about Tinker and Create. You can go to their website. It is www.tinkerandcreate.com. You can see Tinker and Create. It's tinkerandcreate.com. You can also find them on Facebook, Tinker and Create. They also have a telephone number. Their business is to bring classes such as these to. How do you say it? Do you say, "Hi, I'm here to bring a class of what to what population?"
Right, science and technology experiences for kids. We've been specializing 3rd grade to 8th grade, but over time I think we'll also have high schoolers and adults as well.
But how interesting that you're targeting that 3rd to 8th grade group, because that's when we're still forming and the challenges are fun as opposed to high school.
Right.
Maybe we've gotten some set ways. So
True.
What a great target audience.
That's exactly right. And so we think at that age where they're still receptive, they should be receptive at every age. We should all be receptive and able to learn.
I'm not so receptive anymore. I'm sorry. I try, but I'm not.
But especially at that age, I think they can sponge information, and if we can do it in a fun, in caring way, with purpose, and they can see that these are tools that they can use for school and out of school, then I think we can make a difference. And then I'll give you one example with this particular game. Let's say there's a rising 5th grader. She's coming back to school in September, and the librarian gives her an assignment. She said, the librarian says, gives her an assignment to pretend to be a librarian for a day, and give information to the 1st graders about the library. And so, sure, she could do a little presentation and hold their hand and walk around, but now, let's say she went to one of these courses, learned how to design these things and code them and build them. She can then develop a little scavenger hunt game that takes place in the library, and show them this is the media section, this is the maker section, these are where the resources of the library, the indexes are, and so on. And so that's our motivation, is to empower kids with these kind of tools.
That's an amazing idea, never mind the execution of it, but just to think that a 5th grader would be able to take that and create that type of teaching tool at that age level.
Yeah.
So good for you for making that challenge. And I suppose the story or the moral is that don't assume ignorance, because you have to challenge success.
We see it all the time. Doug is on the front line, and he sees 3rd graders focusing and wanting to.
And they're exceptionally clever. I mean, they amaze me all the time. And I know a lot about video game design, but they still come up with ideas that I had never even thought of before. And I get excited students, even after a web design class that I had, where the student came to me afterwards and said, "Oh yeah, I created a web page and put it and showed it off to my teacher at my school." This was a 6th grader, I believe, actually. And she was just so excited that she was able to create a web page and share it with her class. So
terrific.
It's really rewarding.
Well, great. So their telephone number, in case you are looking to either learn more information, or maybe you are an educator, or you have a need for their services and a desire to spread some knowledge in a fun way. 617-763-4584. You see the number there on the screen. That's how to get a hold of Itay and Doug. So this is fascinating. I like it. What do we do now? Give us the tour.
Well, let's see here. You can actually hear, hopefully, a little bit. There's a small sound effects of birds chirping and things
like
that.
Nature, it's beautiful.
It's a great opportunity, too, to teach children ideas about cinematography and sound design as well. And so probably the most dramatic sound I have down here in the dark part of the video game. So, of course, as people might be familiar with children, they often like to play jump over the lava when you're at home and it's raining outside and you got a bunch of chairs and futons you can jump in between. Maybe you can jump over the lava. So let's see if I can do it here.
Jump.
Oh, I didn't do it. Oh well, have to restart the game over again. But it gives them an opportunity to have a discussion with them on how a lot of cinematography works and principles of how camera design works and Foley artists and all sorts of other things that you often will see at the end of credits for movies and the like, and you can actually see how they actually apply in a game here. So we have the nice clunking sound of the door as it opens, and then on the other side of the lava here's another treasure that we can find.
Treasure, yes.
It's a nice big golden ball. And so oftentimes whenever I'm introducing the students for the first time to the entire course, I'll actually have them go through and they'll explore this. And it's funny because then the students are all trying to compete with each other, see if they can get all the treasure fastest and who's the fastest in doing it. And by doing so, they're actually creating their own game design as well, because the actual timer is not something that I stuck into the game, but they are actually coming with their own sort of games just in the process of playing it. And so, I teach them all about how games can work like that, and if I can actually make it up these stairs here. There we are, there's some golden statues up on top. But there's a few little bugs with it, so if I can just get up the stairs.
Well, I have a tough time getting upstairs myself, so I certainly understand that.
There we go, almost there, and there it is. All right, so there's the statue. Now, of course, some students have actually noticed, I think there's actually an interesting bug that students have also found, where if you approach something and face it, you're going to see that little hand appear. But then when you step away from it, the hand actually is supposed to disappear. So here's the hand. You face away with it, the hand disappears. Hand reappears. And so, admittedly, I can't actually replicate the bug, but the students always find it every time. Where the space where the treasure is actually still counts it towards a treasure. There it is. So now you can actually see it counting up in the corner. So it's actually a bug with how the hand is supposed to appear. And this is actually some basic ideas of computer programming, is that sometimes you're going to have bugs and you have to figure out how to find them and how to remove them. And so, of course, then the students always love laughing and saying, I found the most treasures, I've got 97 of them. And so, yeah, the students have been exploiting my game and helping me, find all the problems with it and the like. And, again, it's really clever how quickly they often will find that, and then they're eager to learn the computer programming afterwards to help fix it.
Well, not to digress, but that's also a career is working in that field.
Exactly, in problem solving, and it can just be used in so many different ways. And like I said, I can just see them coming back and they're like, oh, I want to make a video game about a panda. And I'm like, okay, great. Let's see what we can do about making a video game about a panda. And then they do. And it's really great.
And so the approach is, it's a build out, right? So Doug creates this game and then they follow him in the class step by step to create this build out that he made. So that's the first few classes within the course. And towards the end, now that they know the functionalities and the coding and so on, they can now create their own. And that's where their creativity and their own struggle
and so at the end of the course, they've actually have that skill set.
Right.
Exactly. What you're saying.
Right.
And it's a wide variety of things too. So again, even in a course on video game design, we'll be discussing things like 3D design, which then, of course, when they then later will take a class, say, on 3D printing, they'll say, hey, this is familiar because we're using the same software.
Gotcha.
Even architects actually use this Unreal game engine as a way to demonstrate their product. And so a lot of students, oftentimes, they don't really make a game, they just build. And so I'll see them go off and they'll build all sorts of fascinating buildings just using the tools that are already built into the Unreal game engine. And so, yeah, again, it's just fascinating because they can actually take a lot of it and then go off and apply it in so many different ways.
Right. Some examples are they can make toys for themselves, or games for themselves, or games for a family or friends for holidays or birthdays, for example, right? And
that would make you very popular.
That's right. That's right.
I made you a game.
That's right.
There you go.
That's the new guitar playing. Is I can make you a game. That's great.
Exactly.
I'm here with Doug Tepe and with Ite Armand. They are the co-founders of Tinker and Create. I'm not going to call it a gaming.
STEM.
It's a STEM
Education.
Yeah.
Experiences in science and technology, basically. And
excellent. Now you gave me what your title was, and I'm not even going to pretend to read it, but.
So a lot of the time I spend is...
I love it, by the way, because it's very descriptive. He's a co-founder with Curriculum Creation, Instructor Selection, and Training Responsibilities. Right. So in that role, that multi-faceted role, what are you really trying to accomplish?
So what I want to accomplish with that is to get good curriculum. So this is one example, that's digital game design, but we have... like I said, like we spoke before about aquaponics and web design, app design, 3D printing. We have a webcasting course, a podcasting course, and then so on. And we have more, about close to 20 now. So always coming up with curriculums.
That's outstanding.
Curriculums that are interesting and relevant, right? Tools that the kids can use for other things is one important objective. And then to get to that objective, we look at instructors that not only have the know-how, but also have the, the patience and the care to
right,
work with the
because
kids.
I think that's part and parcel of any instructor-led curriculum is you have to have the right instructor.
Right. Make it fun, and why not? At that age, fun is important, and at any age it should be, but we go out of our way to make it fun.
Okay. So if I am a parent and I'm thinking to myself, I have a precocious fourth grader and I think this child needs to be challenged and would probably benefit from much of what you do, how do I find the class closest to me?
So if you go to tinkerandcreate.com, we have a section on the website, I forget the name now, but it's on towards the end, one of the tabs on the right, and I think it's called Current courses.
Okay.
And then the current
So I can find you if I go in there, and
Exactly.
I can see a listing of the curriculum, of the courses that are available.
Exactly.
Locations, hours, all that. So
Exactly.
it's easy to find,
Yes.
and it's a great benefit to the kids to take the course because they're challenged and they come out with, if my kid could do this at the end of a course, that would be a phenomenal course for me to sign my kid up for, I gotta tell you.
Yeah, the other nice thing about what our vision is to make sure that the software is accessible. So we use software that the kids can download at home and then continue working on what they learned before.
Okay.
So that there's
So
continuity.
the whole point of this is just to make the kids.
To give them the opportunities.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, regardless of their own financial background or anything like that, they can actually get right off the ground running. And everything that we teach them, they can take home and share with their family. There's pretty much, we try to make sure at least there's no restrictions at all. They can share it with anyone, whatever their ideas are.
Right.
Sounds very idealistic.
Yeah, and the other thing that we could do is, if there's a group, let's say in Foxborough, let's say we don't have a course in a timing that works for the, like you said, kids that are interested in the courses. If they get a group of at least 15 kids and they are interested in a specific course, we can put that
Really?
together for them. Yeah,
It's that personalized.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
Great. So I'm going to ask you some questions about what you do. We're so close to running out of time already. I don't want to take away from anything that you have to offer. So I'm going to say one more time, go to tinkerandcreate.com and you can find all this information. As he says, go to the tab to the right and you'll find the location and times of the courses closest to you. And also on Facebook at Tinker and Create. So what are some of the other things that we want to capture here? It sounds like you've got
Oh, well, of course,
a catalog.
I was going to say,
stuff.
I've got all sorts of goodies actually on this computer.
like
we
goodies.
We can even leave this one here and have a look-see. So, for
Goodbye,
example,
Lion.
never mind my desktop, of course, but for example, right here is one of the examples of the web design class that I use. So it actually follows along the adventures of a dog named Woof the Pirate, and we will tell McAfee that we're ignoring that for now. And so it's a great way to get the students following along with the whole story. And each one of these elements was actually designed with web design tools and the like, including even this little pirate flag here. Each one of the elements, instead of just being a static image, it's actually all completely dynamically created by the actual web design programming. And so with that, it kind of gives them an idea about how they can actually do a lot of these things themselves. And so they go along with Woof the Pirate and they have adventures all around. And we actually explore local websites as part of the class. And we
How interesting.
have discussions with them about, what makes a good website and what doesn't. And of course, I don't have an internet connection right now. And of course, this is one student who took a picture of Woof the Pirate, and I was encouraging them to create their own images and then include it on their own web page. And this student found a rather silly picture on the internet and included that as well. Another fun one that we had was where I took a ship and that had it completely deconstructed, and so then I would have the students try and put it back together again. And so, for example, here's the broken ship with all the pieces broken all around, and then the students can actually learn web design, and of course it's all this mysterious stuff that we see over on the side here that would actually then enable the students to actually see how they can actually take the pieces and put them back together. So I had it all broken down by different categories, the foresail, the mainsail, and the mizzen. And it's funny because then I end up in long discussions with them about nautical terms from ancient ships and the like. But the kids get a kick out of it, and they have fun putting all the pieces back together.
Wow.
And
What a great way to teach web design.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
As they go through this, they're at the same time learning about CSS3 and HTML5, which are powerful tools for web design.
Yeah, and as well as JavaScript as well. So JavaScript is the way that students can learn to actually interact with web pages and actually make the pages responsive. And so when you click on something, something happens, which of course then becomes a tie-in for video game design as well. And I tell the students that you can even use JavaScript to do basic video game design. And I show them demonstrations of 3D modeling that is also done using web design. And it's a lot of the very same tools that also are used in the other course on video game design as well.
That's great. Tinker and Create, truly remarkable. We are so close to being out of time. I don't want to take away from anything that you absolutely are burning to show me.
Burning to show you.
Burning
Gosh,
to show me.
I think that's kind of the limit of what I got. At least on here, short of me actually digging through the computer, because we do have all sorts of other.
Well,
fun
I know
things
you've
that
got,
we've
because
done,
we were
but-
talking before the show, and it's just
yes,
remarkable the
bricks.
number of different ideas you have and the way you're going with this. So I can't believe that you two just got together and you created this for your daughters.
Right, for the daughters. So it took a few steps. The first step was we wanted to do something for STEM because it was the age where we felt that they're apt, they're ready for it. And so couldn't see anything around, there was one course with it was a coding class around where we live. It was 4 hours. And after the delivery wasn't so good, they weren't that happy with the delivery. They didn't have any homework or tools to get better. And then when that was done, the 4 hours, there was nothing to continue. There's nothing else to build on that. So what we did, the first thing we did is my wife and I hired a tutor. She was a computer science major in UMass.
Okay.
She came home and she worked with them on an app. And they created up together, they came up with a concept for a Playdate app. And they worked on that, created a Playdate app, had a lot of fun with that. And we thought that was, my daughter was, the youngest one was 9 and the other one was 12. Okay. So we were impressed with that experience. Then they created a little website also for something that they wanted to support, a charity they wanted to support. So here they were, 9 and 12. And so when we saw that, we saw how powerful and how positive that experience was. We figured we should do more for their friends and other kids in that age.
That's amazing.
So that was the origins of that.
Wow. Tinker and Create. Sounds like a very dynamic couple of guys here who are creating a path for learning for kids between the 3rd to 8th grade.
Oh, yes.
Here we
and
go.
here's the other one I wanted to feature too. This was actually something that I had created for one of our clients. It was a synagogue, and they were interested in having a story about Hanukkah. So with the students working it together, we created this game. And so you can actually listen to me trying to pretend like I'm an old man.
By the grace of God and with the help of Judas Maccabeus.
And the funny thing was that the kids would come running up to me afterwards and say, "Was that you?" "Yes, of course, young one, that was me." And it was great because it was also part of their Sunday school program. So while they were trying to teach their kids a lot of their religion and the like, they also wanted to give them a chance to learn a little something extra. So it was a fun way that they could also learn some of the same principles. And this was like the other game that we use as our demonstration, where the start of the game starts out like a treasure hunt. And so you go around and you pick up the treasure.
Trash.
Big pile of trash, and makes kind of a clunking sound. And again, it gave me a chance to talk with the students about sound design and cinematography and the like, so that as each one of these elements happened, there's something that needs to occur at every step. There's going to be programming to actually count the trash that's found. There's the sound effects to make it occur. There's the music that plays in the background. And of course, that also leads to discussions about fair use and making sure that you properly use games, music and the like from sources that have offered it up for free.
Right.
And all this is, again, we want to make sure it's accessible to all the students, so we want to make sure that it's all free.
But it's great you're having that level of discussion with them, and the conversation is not spoon-fed. It sounds like this is a legitimate curriculum, and that your expectations are that they're going to learn. You're making it fun to learn as well.
Mm-hmm. We throw our 2 cents about ethics too. We just, these are powerful tools. The different courses have powerful tools, and we just throw a little 2 cents about use it for good, and it is what
Excellent.
it is for.
Tinker and Create. We are here to tell you that they are trying to change the world one class at a time. They've created some pretty sharp curriculum, and there are classes in our area. They're in 11 towns now. The list is growing. You can go to tinkerandcreate.com. You can check out where the closest classes are to you. You can also go to their Facebook page, Tinker and Create, or you can contact them by calling 617-763-4584. Doug Tepe and Ite Armin, it has been such a
meeting you.
pleasure having you out here. You get the last word, sir, since you are the one controlling the keyboard.
So as I'm the one who's trolling the keyboard, I'm trying to see if I can actually get through outside. But you know what? I made it so that way
There you go.
you couldn't actually get past anymore. But I was really particularly proud of the trees, which I'm just having my little character jump up and down to actually show.
We can see them, yes.
There we
they're
go.
out
There are the trees.
We see them in the land, yes.
So it was all trying to make the whole game just more realistic, and it gave me an opportunity to talk with them about the cinematography. Each one of those trees actually is just like the old-fashioned, old Western trees, where it's basically totally flat. If you walk by it, it becomes invisible when you pass behind it, and then when you pass in front of it, you see the tree again. And the whole point is, just like with the old cinematography, it didn't necessarily matter that you couldn't actually see what it was. It was just in the background. And so then the students can actually, again, come up with these problem solving so they can tell their story without spending too much time on other
worrying
elements
about that
of it.
sort of thing.
Exactly.
Sure. Last word, sir.
Thank you for having us and sharing our STEM experiences with your audience. Your show is fun and informative, and we hope that after this show, your audience still thinks it's fun and informative.
Well, I hope that people at home know that this is fun and informative, and it's a great way to introduce our kids to aquaponics and 3D printing and web design at the third grade level. Incredible. Gentlemen, you're doing great work, and we can't wait to see more of this. I can't wait to see more of you, but you can't wait to see more of me at another episode of Foxborough Central. We're so close to being out of time. I will talk to you later, Foxborough. Have a great day.